So I just want to invite you to say a little bit more about this kind of collective liberation and how that might unfold.
I actually want to focus for a moment on the way I end the book. So I hope I'm not deterring anyone who hasn't read it from reading it by how many of you are people who are going to buy a book and then like go read the last few pages before you start reading the book? I was never that person, but you all look horrified. You all are like, oh, people do that. But yes, people do.
We know it all ends in love, Caverly.
It all ends with love, and David already gave that away at the beginning. So I will pull this quote from the very end of the book. Freedom is who we are, not what we attain. There is no separate self. Therefore, there is no collective. So let's do this as a collective together. And the let's do this is let's do the work of collective liberation together. And so I wanted to focus for a moment on that, given that we haven't said too much about that yet. So yes, there's the personal. How am I suffering? How does practice support me in ending my suffering? As the book does for the entire book, every chapter has practices where we're taking practices that I originally experienced as a Zen monk, we're applying them collectively. That's, I think, one of the things that's actually somewhat unique about the book is we're taking personal practice. Now we're saying, okay, what if you took that one personal practice and then you did it, not only did it in Sangha, because that's pretty common to do personal practice in Sangha, but to take a practice and apply it to collective experience. So there's personal, there's collective in that way. But I want to focus again right now on the punchline being, we speak so much in Zen about no self, we must also apply that to no collective. What do you have to say in response to that, David?
Yes.
All right.
You've probably all heard the saying before, before you begin practice, a mountain is a mountain. And then you start practicing and a mountain is no longer a mountain. And then, further along in practice, mountain becomes a mountain again. But you understand the nature of the mountain. You understand its interdependent, co-arisen nature. And you understand the causes, or as much as you can, the causes and conditions that give rise to that mountain. So the freedom is in this understanding how things are and how they came to be and what we might do differently to change them. This is the Buddha's Four Noble Truths. There is suffering and there's, a cause of suffering, right? And there's, a sensation of suffering, and then there's a path for the sensation of suffering. But the fundamental thing is suffering arises. We know, and to really understand the causes for suffering. And then what are we going to do to change that? So suffering is no longer arising. So much I think about, what I'm learning over these, last number of years is really focusing on how is our collective suffering arising? Well, how are we taking our limited sense of self and literally creating institutions that recreate that, manifest that mind of separation, that mind of othering, the ways that they operate, the ways that they communicate, the structures of the institutions, and so on. It's all manifesting this narrative of other, separate in some way.